Egypt's military rulers on Saturday imposed an overnight curfew and deployed soldiers around the defense ministry to deter a repeat of Friday's deadly violence. Less than 3 weeks before a presidential vote, one soldier died and almost 400 people were wounded in Friday's clashes, the second time in a week that protests over the army's handling of Egypt's troubled transition from army rule to civilian government have turned violent. The military imposed a 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. curfew in the Abbasiyah district around the defense ministry for the second straight day, according to a military source. Egypt's Journalists Syndicate and other rights organizations reacted Saturday to the arrest of a number of journalists covering violent clashes in Abbasiyah Square Friday. Board member of the Journalists Syndicate Alaa Al-Atta told RM Online that the estimated number of detained journalists from yesterday's events ranges between 15 and 20 reporters and photojournalists, some of which were released shortly after their detention while some remain detained. At least 3 photojournalists were reported injured during coverage of the clashes. Saudi Arabia's ambassador to Egypt returned to Cairo on Saturday, Egyptian airport officials said, almost a week after he was recalled in a rare diplomatic row between the longtime allies.
Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the self-proclaimed mastermind of 9/11, will face charges in court with 4 alleged accomplices. Come to watch them in court, a handful of relatives of those who were killed that day, like Tara Henwood Butzbau, whose brother John died in the World Trade Center. She is confident justice will be done.
I have every faith in our system and in the military and in our government. My brother was a true patriot and he believed in all this country stood for.
But this will also be a trial of the methods used to bring the accused to court.
On Sunday, voters will chart France's political direction for the next 5 years. Will they throw the current captain overboard, or will Nicolas Sarkozy remain at the helm?
And just like the water that carves its way through the centre of Paris, there's a choice between flowing to the left or flowing to the right. Francois Hollande, the socialist, represents more taxes on the rich and public sector job creation, while Nicolas Sarkozy on the right is talking about tighter immigration and more austerity.
The polls suggest voters are pulling to the left. The socialist leader has been comfortably ahead for months, although the gap narrowed on Friday to between 5 and 6 points. So worried about complacency, Hollande was campaigning to the last and has assembled a volunteer army to ferry people to polling stations. His rallying cry, victory is within reach.
Don't imagine that your problems will dissipate or evaporate suddenly with the outgoing candidate. No.
Khar, Pakistan are quiet a day after a suicide bomber killed at least 20 people. Another 45 were wounded in the attack on a police checkpoint near a crowded market. The bombing has cast doubts on claims that authorities have weakened militant groups intent on sowing the seeds of chaos. Residents say the town was a quiet, friendly place, but that has changed.
The town was peaceful before this blast, but it cannot deter us. Our morale is high and will remain high, God willing.
The Pakistan Taliban claimed responsibility for the attack.
I used to support another political party, but the way the situation is now, I have crossed the other side. I'll vote for a completely different party from the one that I used to support. Until now, I voted one of the 2 major parties, but now I'm going against it.
It will be very difficult in people's minds who to vote for. It would be sensible if they didn't choose one of the 2 parties that have governed us and which have brought us misery.
I don't believe something will happen, that Greece will change. The same things will happen whichever government is formed, whichever party comes first. The same things.
Of Duma in Syria to monitor the UN-backed ceasefire. The ceasefire, brokered by UN peace envoy Kofi Annan, was agreed between Syrian government forces and rebels 3 weeks ago, but has been dogged by reports of ongoing violence. Monitors crossed checkpoints to talk to residents and Syrian army soldiers and examined tanks in different locations.
Fashion is all about the latest trends, and Vogue, the most influential magazine in the fashion world, is vowing to be a trendsetter, saying ultra young and super skinny is out of style. In addition to being sexy and glamorous, the magazine's editors from around the world made a pact to use models who also look healthy. Keep in mind, this is the same magazine that was the inspiration for the movie The Devil Wears Prada.
So none of the girls here eat anything?
Not since 2 became the new 4.
The editors say they'll no longer knowingly work with models under the age of 16 or who appear to have an eating disorder. But critics say the pact is too vague.
I think there need to be carrots and sticks. You know, people need to be recognized for doing the right thing and reprimanded or shamed for hiring kids.
Ironically, one of the biggest critics of the fashion industry just this past week is also a kid.